so that there was a constant chorus of chanting. During the afternoon, the crowd grew to more than 100, with a dozen musicians trying with their conga and bongo drums, bamboo flutes, metal flutes, mouth organs, wood and metal clackers, tambourines, and guitars to stay with the Swami. He was striking to see. His brow was furrowed in for all to hear. Although his demeanor was pleasant, his chanting was intensive, sometimes straining, and everything about him was concentration. It wasn't someone else's yoga retreat or silent peace vigil, but a pure chanting, be in of Bhaktivedanta Swami's own doing. It was a new wave, something everyone would take part in. The community seemed to be accepting it. It became so popular that the ice cream vendor came over to make sales. Besides Prabhupada, a group of young blonde-haired boys, 5 or 6 years old, were just sitting around. A young polished boy stood staring. Someone began burning frankincense on a glowing coal in a metal strainer. Twenty and 21. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयामुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी स्वयंभूर नारद शंभु स्वयंभूर नारद शंभु कुमार कपिलो मनु कुमार कपिलो मनु प्रहलादो जनको भीष्मो प्रहलादो जनको भीष्मो बलिर वयासकीर वयम बलिर्वयासकीर वयम द्वादशेते विज्ञानिमो धर्मम भागवतम भजा गुह्यम विशुद्धम दुर्बोधम. So I missed, maybe we'll do word and then again sing. Yam Yatvamritam
अश्नुते द्वादिशे ते विजानीमो धर्मं भागवतं भता गुह्यं विशुद्धं दुर्बोधं यं ज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते स्वयंभू कुमार कपिलो मनु प्रह्लादो जनको भीष्मो बलिर्वया सकीर्वयम् द्वादशते विजानीमो धर्मं भागवतां बता गुह्यं विशुद्धं दुर्बोधं यं ज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते स्वयंभू नारद शंभु कुमारो कपिलो मनु प्रह्लादो जनको भीष्मो बलिर्वया सकीर्वयम् द्वादशैते विजानीमो धर्मं भागवतं बताम् गुह्यं विशुद्धं दुर्बोधं यं ज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते स्वयंभूर्नारद शंभु कुमार कपिलो मनु प्रह्लादो जनको भीष्मो बलिर्वया सकीर्वयम् द्वादशते विजानीमो धर्मं भागवतं बताम् गुह्यं विशुद्धं दुर्बोधं यं ज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते स्वयंभूर्नारद शंभु कुमार कपिलो मनु प्रह्लादो जनको भीष्मो बलिर्वया सकीर्वयम् द्वादशते विजानीमो धर्मं भागवतं भताम् गुह्यं विशुद्धं दुर्बोधं यं ज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते स्वयंभू Lord Brahma, Narada, the great saint Narada, Shambhu, Lord Shiva, Kumara, the four Kumaras, Kapila, Lord Kapila, Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlada, Prahlad Maharaj, Janaka, Janaka Maharaj, Bhishma, grandfather Bhishma, Bali, Bali Maharaj, Vyasaki, Sukdev, the son of Vyasudev, Vayam, we, Dvadasha, 12, Ete, these, Vijanima, no, Dharmam, real religious principles, Bhagavatam, which teach a person how to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhata, O my dear servants, Kuyam, very confidential, Vishuddham, transcendental, not contaminated by the material modes of nature. Turbodham, not easily understood. Yam, which, Yatva, understanding, Amritam, eternal life, Ashnute, he enjoys. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki. Lord Brahma, Bhagwan Narad, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, Grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Sukhdev Goswami, and I myself know the real religious principle. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavad Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. But if by chance one fortunately underst- understands it, he is immediately liberated, and thus he returns home, back to Godhead. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna refers to Bhagavad Dharma as the most confidential religious principle. Sarva Guhya Tamam Guhyad Guhya Taram. Krishna says to Arjuna, because you are my very dear friend, I am explaining to you the most confidential religion. Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mahamekam Sharanam Vraja. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. One may ask, if this principle is very rarely understood, what is the use of it? In answer, Yamraj states herein that this religious principle is understandable if one follows the parampara system of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, and the other standard authorities. There are four lines of disciplic succession, one from Lord Brahma, one from Lord Shiva, one from Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and one from the Kumaras. The disciplic succession from Lord Brahma is called the Brahma Sampradaya. The succession from Lord Shiva's Shambhu is called the Rudra Sampradaya. The one from the goddess of fortune Lakshmiji is called the Shri Sampradaya, and the one from the Kumaras is called the Kumar Sampradaya. One must take shelter of one of these four Sampradayas in order to understand the most confidential religious system. In the Padma Purana, it is said, Sampradaya Vihina Ye Mantrasta Nishpale Mata. If one does not follow the four recognized disciplic successions, his mantra or initiation is useless. In the present day, there are many up-sampradayas or sampradayas which are not bona fide, which have no link to authorities like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Kumaras, or Lakshmi. People are misguided by such sampradayas. The Shastras say that being initiated in such a sampradaya is a useless waste of time, for it will never enable one to understand the real religious principles. वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराना श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीर धारी कृपां बुदीय तमहं प्रपद्ये मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारणम् वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। First of all, my sincere apologies to everyone. You all will have to now hear something about surrender from a very unsurrendered soul, from a very undedicated, unsurrendered soul, honestly. So kindly tolerate, please, and kindly shower your blessings. Beautiful shloka translation. In one translation, such a fortune and blessing and auspiciousness. We are getting an opportunity to chant the names of such elevated personalities, pure personalities, surrendered souls, pure devotees of Krishna. Um, in very few, we see in Bhagavatam, very few slokas where we'll find many personalities are being discussed. Uh, it's mostly like one to one or some philosophical aspect and all. But this is one, I suppose this is one unique, and there could be some others, but not like where Lord Brahma, Bhagwan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Kapila, so much of weightage like, and if we see coming to this point, so throughout Ajamil pastime, we see so much of kind glorification going on. In the sense, first when the Yamdutas and Vishnudutas they encounter, so the Yamdutas, Vishnudutas first ask them to speak. Okay, on what grounds, on what right have you got to take this? Not just pious, take this surrendered person. So the Yamdutas, they also speak, and they speak may not be, they do not speak on the transcendental subject matters of the Vedas, but they speak the message of the Vedas, definitely in line with the religious principles. Say, may not be touching the pure, real religious principles. They do not touch that. And then Vishnu Dutas, they speak and they glorify the holy names of Krishna. They glorify transcendental literature. They glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, name, form, pastime, entourage, everything. And now the Yamdutas approach Yamraj, that what is going on here. And the Yamraj is now taking this opportunity. Yamraj is so gladdened. Wow. When his subordinates tell him, well, there were these four personalities who were so beautiful looking, effulgent, very uh, sweet, charming, polite, such well behaved gentlemen, gentle personalities. And thus Ajamil called the name Narayan. And these personalities appeared and didn't let us take him, uh, bring him to you, Ajamil to you. So just by hearing this, Yamraj also became so glad, and Narayan, oh wow. I mean, we personally speaking, I don't have this level of consciousness, love, or surrender. But when we go out in streets distributing books, or when we meet someone and all, and we get to know, okay, oh, the person, oh, Hare Krishna, doing Harinam, and suddenly you hear someone passerby saying, oh, Hare Krishna. It gives such a joy. And when at work or anywhere here and there, just randomly we hear like Hare Krishna or something Krishna conscious related, it brings a lot of joy. And Yamraj, the sort of position he's having, the sort of portfolio he's carrying, and he gets to hear Narayan from his subordinate, he feels very enthused. And now he wants to do a Bhakta session for his Yamdutas. Okay, he wants to give him Bhagavatam class for his Yamdutas. So this is what he's saying. Furthermore, that first of all, he's clarifying that I am not the sole authority, I am not the supreme authority, I am not the own authority. So far, things were going fine. Okay, Yamdutas were engaged in their job. They also were not much interested in knowing who is the sole authority, and Yamraj also didn't tell them. But now there's a good opportunity, and he is preaching to the Yamdutas, to the subordinates, that I am not the sole authority. Uh, and Krishna is the supreme authority. And how do we understand real religious principles is by taking shelter of pure devotees. That is the message. When we take the shelter of a pure devotee, then the message will, the secret, however secretive message of the Vedas, of transcendental literature, will all come about, will all be clear, crystal revealed to us. So In this, who is Janaka Maharaj in this translation being mentioned? We hear Lord Brahma, Narada, Lord Shiva, Kumaras, but who is Janak Maharaj? Yes, Father Bro. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Janak Maharaj, Janaki, one name for Mother Sita, is the father of Sita Devi. So, and grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Sukdev Goswami, these are all surrendered souls. And the message is when we take shelter of a surrendered soul, that is when the message of transcendental literature, the heart of Krishna, what Krishna wants to give to us, who is Krishna, everything will be revealed, everything will come out. Direct shelter of Krishna is never encouraged, and we cannot afford to take direct shelter of Krishna as well. And that is not the process enunciated by Sri Mahaprabhu in Braja Bhakti. Maybe in Dwarka Bhakti there is a different bhav, but in Mahaprabhu's mission, in Mahaprabhu's teachings, it is the mood of subservient, taking the subservient nature. So, and taking the shelter of a pure devotee of Krishna, and then everything comes out in a very sublime way, in a very sublime way. And it is not about like having one's own efforts or showing one's own skills, talent, or how learned one am I and all. This comes out from the blessings of Vaishnavas only. Having said that, one has to earn that blessing. One has to make efforts to earn that blessing. One has to make efforts to show one's intent, to show one's desire, to show one's desperation. All that effort is to attract that real mercy of Krishna. So, whatever we do in life, day in, day out, it should always be to attract that real mercy of Krishna. See, everyone in this world, practicing devotee or someone who is not practicing for now, but we all are trying to attract some sort of energy. We all are trying to bring something in life, or we all are trying to give up something in life. But for a sadhaka, a practitioner, his all his real motive should be to attract the inner mercy, the real mercy, the loving mercy of Krishna, and which would come about when we associate with devotees, when we serve devotees, when we actually see devotees as devotees, when we see devotees as Vaishnavas who are representatives of Krishna, and when we start dealing with them like that, especially when we take the shelter of a pure devotee of Krishna. So in purport, it mentions sampradayas, four sampradayas. Which sampradaya do we belong to? Yeah. Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is the sampradaya we belong to. And these four sampradayas are existing, are present in India and little bit perhaps outside of India as well. But it is through the sheer kindness of Prabhupada that he revealed, opened us up to this lineage, succession, sampradaya. And so much of nice preaching work is going on throughout the world to spread the message of Mahaprabhu. And it is a fact like people sometimes, okay, we might take this mantra as a medicine, and not generally people care for some bona fide or authorized. Uh, just like saying here, right, in COVID time also, like when some people were going around knocking at people's houses and all, oh, we have got this test kit, or we are from the government and we can give you a um, this thing, the vaccine, and just for this much money we can give you the vaccine and all. But that's not, they may be having that ID card and they might have made up something. Externally they may appear to be genuine, externally they may be showing genuine, and they might be having so much of information regarding the pandemic, the virus, what this and that, and government rules, regulations, but they are not authorized, they are not in line with the government people. So ultimately they wouldn't help. Again, this is more of a material example, um, but this is why it is very, very important to actually take the scripture seriously, to take the message seriously. And this is not for Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is not for just some light fun or to, okay, yes, to give us some bit of knowledge. No, this is for ultimate good, for the transcendental glory altogether. And again, a question: what does surrender mean? If you would kindly like to share, just explain in normal, well, whatever our understanding with regards to surrender, what does surrender mean? I like it. When I first arrived in Karuna Bhavan, I remember His Grace Jayananda Prabhu, he came to see me, and he kindly said something which really uh, felt very blessed, and if I can remember this for even longer would be very nice. So he was very, and everyone knows, like, look at the smile of Jayananda Prabhu. I mean, it's rare to see his smile, but it's more than $1 million smile. So, and so I remember Jayananda Prabhu came to see me, and he said, like, we knew each other from before as well. He greeted me very nicely, and he said, like, oh, very nice you came to spend time in Karuna Bhavan, to live in Karuna Bhavan, and I'm sure, like, in Karuna Bhavan you will learn the art of surrender, how to surrender, although I'm not doing it, but yeah. So any thoughts what does surrender mean?
Uh, I guess there's elements of realizing that no longer can you do something. So perhaps in a battlefield, realize the idea, okay, this other group, my opponent's going to beat me. So I'm just going to stop doing what I'm doing and just give in to their will. That's the idea when it comes to spiritual matters. It's like we're constantly trying to, go against Krishna. We're trying to enjoy. We're trying to be the controllers and like this. And then it comes a point where we say, actually, no, it's much easier if I just go along with Krishna's will.
Nice. So surrender means going with Krishna's will. Any other thoughts? So, yes, bro.
There is another Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He gives principles of surrender. Hopefully, between all of us, we can remember them. So one is accepting things favorable for development of Krishna consciousness and rejecting things that are unfavorable. Anybody knows other ones? Yes, accepting Krishna as your sole maintainer. Another one is that having confidence that Krishna will give all protection. So these are two similar ones: accepting as a maintainer, and that Krishna will give protection. Another one is to have utter humility, and then sometimes I think they are put into different ways. But another one is not have any other interest outside of interest and kind of service of Krishna.
6 principles of Sharanagati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions, explains to us. So, before we try to a bit more discuss what is surrender, mention one person in this world who you think is not surrendered, who is not surrendered to Krishna. All of us are surrendered to Krishna. It's just a question if we are directly surrendered or indirectly surrendered. Everyone is surrendered. Krishna is the supreme controller. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. Even to understand this, that I am not surrendered to Krishna, this is also Maya. To think that, oh, I am not surrendered to Krishna. He is the supreme personality of Godhead, the original personality of Godhead, the supreme controller. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Yeah. But in Vraj Lila, in Vrindavan Lila, Krishna is fully surrendered because the Brajvasis are the controllers there in Braj Lila. So Krishna is perfect and complete. He is perfect and complete and beyond. Who is not surrendered? Everyone is surrendered, from a tiny ant to elephant to whosoever we say. And every moment, see, how are we not surrendered? By we are forced, we have to take shelter of Maya Devi material nature. We are forced to take shelter of time. We are forced to take shelter of karma as well. We have to act. We are forced to act. All of us are surrendered. It's just a question of understanding, are we directly or indirectly surrendered to Krishna? And this is why shelter of devotees help us understand, give us this inspiration, encouragement, this learning, teaching, knowledge, that better take direct shelter of Krishna. So far, we have been taking indirect shelter of Krishna. I mean, for Krishna, there is no Maya. For sun, there is no darkness. So for Krishna, there is no Maya. Shishi Khorantai Mayapur Sashi ki jai. For Krishna, there is no Maya. So for Krishna, if we see, think of Krishna, wherever Krishna goes is a spiritual world only. Krishna, there's not like a material world or this spiritual world, or Krishna is beyond pap and punya. He's beyond sin and piety. He's beyond all duality. So Krishna, for him, and likewise the pure devotees as well of Krishna, who are completely in tune with Krishna, who are completely in connection with Krishna, they are also in that transcendental mood. And when we come across and take shelter of such pure devotee, the whole of prayers of Krishna consciousness is to invoke the blessings of a pure devotee in our life, or to help us give this vision, to help us give this vision, this understanding, knowledge that I can see my spiritual master as a pure devotee. I can see um, devotees as the representative of Krishna, and accordingly deal with them and inspire this mood within myself, that how could I actually serve them? How could I sincerely listen from them, and how could I actually glorify them further and furthermore? So all of us are actually surrendered to Krishna, and now it's like some elements of surrender. So surrender brings a bit of a threat or something, but actually it's a real joy. Actually, it's a real joy to surrender. And there's so many examples we have in within this life itself of realized souls of pure devotees and seeing their surrender in person as such. So as Father said, like surrender, yes, one meaning, layer, or element of surrender is accepting the will of Krishna. Accepting the will of Krishna. And that ways we show our dedication, we show our sincerity to Krishna. I mean, if Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we better accept the will of Krishna and we let him play the role of being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in our practice, the whatever outcomes comes, we accept the will of Krishna. And again, this doesn't mean, see, the any slight smartness, any slight trickery, if we try to apply, we would be making a fool of ourselves, no one else. So I may say, oh, well, I accept the will of Krishna. Oh, Prabhu, I accept the will of Krishna. I accept the will of Krishna, and I'm late for morning program, or I'm late for this and all, and I go by the will of Krishna. This is what Krishna willed. This is what Krishna desired. So how to respond to that if someone says, well, I accept the will of Krishna, and I think Krishna wants me to not attend morning program? Yes, Prajat Prabhu.
Then if you accept that that everything is the will of Krishna, then you will also have to accept the consequences of your action as being the will of Krishna. So will you accept that it's the will of Krishna when will you accept that it's the will of Krishna when you're suffering the reaction for your complacency? Will you also accept that that's the will of Krishna? Will you be equipoised in your acceptance that everything is the will of Krishna?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Yes. So, thing is, we humans, again, we have this problem, right? Out of so many other problems, we try to act too smart. And this is why the law of nature, law of karma and material nature is there to bring us to keep us always on check, on right. We can never actually act too smart. It's only Krishna who can act too smart, and he acts too smart, or he can act the way he likes. He's completely independent. So very nicely, like Prajat Prabhu explained, I may say that, okay, it's the will of Krishna that I shouldn't be taking prasadam today. But then how much actually am I surrendered by that will? And this is where we see from the lives of all of these personalities, Brahmaji, Narada, Shiva, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Kapil Maharaj, Swambhuva Manu, Parikshit Maharaj, he was surrendered. He accepted that as the will of Krishna. When the snake was put over his neck, when he put the snake over the neck of that sadhu, and the sadhu's son Shringi, when he cursed Parikshit Maharaj, he accepted it as the will of Krishna. And he actually genuinely made way in his life, accepting it as the way of Krishna. And then he took it as the message of Krishna, and then went further to ultimately make good of the whatever last breaths, days he had in his life. So one way of surrender is how we show that acceptance of the will of Krishna. And yes, equipoised, when we show our equanimity, when we show this tolerance level, our tolerance level, and all this is what to demonstrate how valuable, how sweet, how glorious Krishna is, that I accept the will of Krishna. And on our part, see, ye yathamam prapadyante tamstatema bhajamiham. But as sadhakas, we understand that no, we can never settle down for anything less than the pure love of Krishna. So from our side, we should make further more efforts, but with only a view to attract the mercy of Krishna, and we let Mahaprabhu use us the way he wants to use us. The 8th verse of Sishtastakam. So that is letting Mahaprabhu use us the way he wants to use us. But on our part, we never give up. If Krishna is reciprocating or not reciprocating. Also, we should surrender means we should never try to instruct or guide or direct Krishna. Oh, Krishna, reciprocate in this way or reciprocate in that way. I'm going for this change in my life. I'm going for that change in my life. Kindly reciprocate in this way or kindly reciprocate in that way. There's no harm in praying to Krishna like that. At least we understand that Krishna is the supreme controller, and all this is so that Krishna, I can become a devotee of yours, so that I can serve you. But if we actually want to be a devotee of Krishna, then let Krishna be more free. Let him be more free, and then he will do even more mysterious acts with us. On similar lines, the meaning of surrender is not having duality within our consciousness, within our interest, not having any separate interest from Krishna. That is surrender then. Yes, that whatever we do, wherever we see and all, we see the glory of Krishna, we see the beauty of Krishna, we see the interest of Krishna, and we do it for that purpose only. That it pleases Krishna. It pleases Krishna. So nothing for one's self-centeredness. It should be all for the glory of Guru and Gaurang, for the pleasure of Guru and Gaurang. And the whole life has to be molded, dovetailed like that, in that fashion. So Krishna consciousness is not just an external makeover. It's not just an external makeover, both external and internal as well. And thing is, the society is very much at an external platform, external way of working, that the society just sees the external bit of it. It's very hard for the society to see that, okay, wow, these are elevated devotees. For them, maybe once we start growing horns on our head, maybe they can see, okay, yeah, wow, these guys are really into something. But again, surrender, okay, but maybe controlling our anger, controlling our mind, controlling our senses, and controlling our speech. All this is to help us to come into that understanding surrender bit by bit, bit by bit. And the key is how glorious do we see devotees of Krishna. To the degree we see how glorious the devotees of Krishna are, to that degree Krishna will reveal to us. Exactly to that degree. But if we do not see how glorious Krishna's devotees are and all, then there would still be a distance. There will be mercy coming from studying of scriptures. There will be mercy coming from chanting the holy names. Lots good purification coming along the way and all. But that one-pointed attention, one-pointed mood, one-pointed surrender in one's perfect demeanor in terms of contemplating on Krishna's glory, Krishna's pastimes, and what Krishna is giving to us, and what is my spiritual identity. What is my spiritual identity? In contemplating that, it all comes out about by the mercy of a pure devotee of Krishna. Throughout in Bhagavatam purports, Prabhupada has written, by the mercy of a pure devotee of Krishna, by the mercy of a pure devotee of Krishna. And that is we want to be in that disciplic succession, a succession of pure devotees of Krishna. So, not having any separate interest outside of the interest of Krishna, outside of the interest of Shastras. So we do not practice Krishna conscious. I mean, both is required. Purification is required, tremendously required. Without becoming pure, we cannot expect to attract the mercy of Krishna. And without getting the mercy of Krishna, we cannot be pure. We cannot be pure as well. If we do not have the mercy of Krishna, then we cannot be pure as well. On our side, we just cannot afford to say, okay, no, when mercy comes, I will be pure then. Or so on our side, we have to make efforts. But then just this thing, why are we making efforts? What is the real thing for making effort? This is just to attract a bit of the real mercy of Krishna, and just a tiny bit of real mercy of Krishna is good enough for us to get drowned in pure bliss. And actually, then only we can serve the Srimad Bhagavatam, the message of Krishna consciousness, and the efforts of pure devotees and everyone. when we ourselves actually start working on ourselves to begin with. So the whole this attempt is to not to again, I'm in no position or anything that to tell anyone. This is all to help myself understand and grow. And this is again the kindness and the blessings of Krishna that he made me come across devotees, and he's helping me to take shelter of devotees. Okay, on this note, maybe any question or comment or corrections, please. Yes, Daud Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the class, Guru. Just at the end there, when you were talking about that we have to do work to become qualified to receive Krishna's mercy, it reminded me of a lecture given by His Holiness Radhanath Swami, and he said, just as when we're doing gardening, we have to prepare the soil to be able to be a suitable medium for the plants to grow. So he was saying that and there are different ways to do that. And he said that to prepare the soil of our heart to be able to receive Krishna's mercy, one of the most powerful mediums to do that is to express gratitude. The other means of, obviously, the process of devotional service is also one of those means, and surrender, you could say that unless we're surrendered, we can't receive the mercy. But that may seem a little daunting. But I thought it was nice that he gave that suggestion that just by practicing gratitude to the devotees and to Krishna, and that in itself opens the heart. So,
Thank you very much for class, Prabhu. I just wanted to ask, at the start you're talking about the sampradayas, and if you know any sort of reasoning behind why Mahaprabhu, appeared in the Brahma Sampradaya. Is there any particular? Or...
Question: why Mahaprabhu appeared or chose this sampradaya as such? Well, I don't have, in my knowledge, I don't have a direct answer as such. Mahaprabhu is completely free and independent. He desired to choose. Any logic, any reason behind that desire, I don't know. And he desired to choose to bless us, so that we also take on this movement of Krishna consciousness. And actually we see even in these four sampradayas, well, there's no difference. There's no difference because the transcendental principles, they all are still the same. Brahmavadya, Gaudiya Sampradaya, or Shri Sampradaya, or Lakshmi Rudra Sampradaya, or Kumar Sampradaya. I mean, it's all subservient to Krishna. It's all to Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. The mood is different. Certainly, the mood is different. And Mahaprabhu, yes, certainly Mahaprabhu opened up altogether Braj Bhakti, that mood. That is very different. That is very elevated. The mood of Golok Vrindavan and the relationship with Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. That certainly, yes. And this is a very rare thing. This is the rarity. How rarity? All this, when we read scriptures and all, this should all actually help us become humble. To express what? Again, our gratitude. And how do we express our gratitude? Once we see the glory of someone so sublime beyond us or in front of us, is so magnanimous in front of us. Only then. So this is a rarity to have this secret knowledge or learning or understanding of Radha Krishna, this tattva, and the practice. It is all by the pure mercy, causeless mercy of Mahaprabhu. So all sampradayas message is the same, is to love and serve Krishna, to surrender Krishna. Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. The means could be a bit different somewhere. The ways could be a bit different. And but yeah, Mahaprabhu, this is a unique blessing on us. So we should really catch onto it. We should really catch onto it, and we should consider ourselves. We are very blessed. We should honestly, we can never afford to discourage ourselves, or we can never afford to kind of do any sort of self-pity or pity on us. No, not at all. We may be struggling, but it is this sort of struggle. We are struggling for whom? For Mahaprabhu. That in itself is a award. That in itself is the real achievement, yes. But it's knowing that if am I really struggling for Mahaprabhu, or am I struggling just to be good? Why do we want to be a good devotee? Just so that, yes, in the standard, in the society of devotees, I also fit in. Yes. Well, I've been 5 years, and look at him, he's been just 3 years, and look at him, he's been 10 years. I need to scale up a bit and all. Somewhere these things may help us, yes, to bring a bit of a push, But then, if at the end of the day, see, we all have to face that. And in our last days, last breath and all, if the Mahaprabhu is not smiling, then life wasn't worth living then. We didn't live life properly then. If we couldn't make Mahaprabhu smile, if we couldn't really get the teachings out of Mahaprabhu's, who teaches humility in this world? Where is the talk of humility? And there are these personalities who teach us humility and everything. So the more and more the glories of Mahaprabhu, the more and more the vision, the mission, what Mahaprabhu came to give us, this Braj Bhakti comes about, and the more and more our spiritual identity. Who am I in relation to spiritual master, in relationship to the Shad Goswamis and all? The more and more contemplation has to be done on that. I don't remember the Sanskrit, but mithya abhimana. Even if someone sentimentally says, I am a devotee of Krishna, that is also good. That is very good. If sentimentally also one says, oh yes, I am also a devotee of Krishna. But now we are practicing, now we are in bhajani kriya, now we are actually taking sadhu sangha. So we should contemplate more on our spiritual identity, for that matter. Okay, on that note, maybe. Thank you very much for tolerating. ग्रंथ राज श्रीमद् भागवतम महापुराण की, शिला प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी.
Hari Bo, Bhakta Prabhu Ki. Jai. His Grace.